欢迎来到我的频道，看见自然与科技的平衡点。
Look around the room you're in right now. Like maybe you're in your bedroom or your home office or just sitting at a really messy desk.
Yeah, which is most of us, honestly.
Right. Now, if I asked you to just freeze, scan your environment, and count every single piece of plastic, the casing on your monitor, the cap of your lip balm, the synthetic fibers in your chair, how long do you think that would take you?
To find every single stray pen and, hidden cable.
Exactly. Well, researchers actually tried this. It took a team of highly trained humans an hour and 40 minutes to carefully scan just 31 photos of regular desks.
Which is just agonizing to even think about.
Right. But today, we're looking at an artificial intelligence model that accomplished that exact same task in under 5 seconds.
It completely shatters the barrier to how we measure environmental impact.
It really does. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us because the implications of this are just wild.
Yeah, we're digging into this really intriguing 2021 research presentation from the Symposium on Sustainable Products and Industrial Management.
And the focus here is this fascinating intersection, right? We're looking at how advanced deep learning, specifically visual recognition, is being used to solve a massive, largely invisible blind spot in global sustainability.
Exactly. They're basically using neural networks to map the plastic footprint of our personal living spaces.
Which is our mission today. We want to understand the mechanics of this huge transition from human observation to machine processing.
Right, like why tracking plastic in your house is so brutally difficult in the first place.
Yeah, and how this specific AI pulls off its 5-second sprint and, what actually happens to the data once the machine finishes looking at all your clutter.
So to really grasp the value of this 5-second AI sprint, we kind of have to look at the massive data panic happening right now at the corporate and governmental level.
So for sure.
Like, the European Union is currently deploying its next generation green recovery plan. And we are talking about a 750 billion euro initiative here.
Wow, 750 billion?
Yeah. It is an oceanic amount of capital designed to force a green transition in the economy.
Right.
And at the same time, major corporate players are making these really aggressive pledges. The research highlights Unilever, one of the top 3 consumer goods companies on the planet.
Huge company.
Right. Back in 2019, they set a goal to have their virgin plastic use by 2025.
Okay, but when a multinational giant says they're going to cut their virgin plastic in half, they suddenly need to know where all their current plastic is actually going.
Exactly. They need receipts.
Which sounds simple on paper. You look at carbon footprints, and we mostly have that figured out, right?
Yeah.
A factory has a smokestack, a satellite, or a sensor, measures the output, the auditor logs the data. It's highly centralized.
But plastic just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
The International Union for Conservation of Nature, the IUCN, they published a white paper in 2019 that threw a massive spotlight on this exact problem.
Okay, what did they find?
Well, carbon and water footprints are successfully integrated into what the industry calls life cycle assessments, or LCA.
LCAs, right.
Yeah, and a life cycle assessment is basically the backbone of sustainable design. It tracks a product's entire environmental toll from the moment raw materials are extracted, through manufacturing, transportation, consumer use, and finally disposal.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that LCA for a second. If I'm a manufacturer making, let's say, plastic water bottles.
Okay.
I know exactly how much petroleum was extracted to make my plastic. I know how much energy my factory used to mold those bottles.
Right, you have the utility bills.
Exactly. I know how many pallets I shipped to the grocery store. I have pristine, perfect data for the first half of the life cycle.
The data is pristine right up until the consumer buys the bottle and takes it home.
Oh, wow.
And that is exactly where the IUCN identified a critical failure in the methodology.
Yeah.
Current LCAs suffer from this severe lack of data regarding what happens inside the consumer's home.
So it just goes into a black box.
Pretty much. The industry actually refers to this missing data as leakage. We know the plastic entered the economy, but it leaks out of the tracking system.
Because we don't know if it went to a recycling plant or a landfill.
Exactly. Some goes to landfills, some to the ocean, but a massive, unaccounted for percentage just sits in our personal living spaces.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here.
Sure.
If we know exactly how many millions of tons of plastic a factory produces, why is the inventory so hard to track just because it went into a house? Like, it sounds like trying to audit a massive corporation knowing they spent $5 billion, but nobody is keeping the petty cash receipts. Why can't we just measure what goes into the neighborhoods?
Because once a product crosses the threshold of your front door, it scatters into a highly complex, disorganized environment.
Ah, right. It's not on a pallet anymore.
Exactly. To close the data gap in a life cycle assessment, you need observational data of what is actively sitting in people's homes, how long they keep it, and how they use it.
Which means someone actually has to go look.
Yes. Historically, gathering that data requires a manual audit. You have to literally go into people's living spaces or get photos of them and document every single item.
Which brings us to the incredibly messy reality of trying to count the stuff by hand.
It's a nightmare.
To quantify the exact burden of tracking this leakage, researchers at National Cheng Kung University designed this really revealing experiment.
Yeah, this was fascinating.
They recruited a sample group, primarily young adults, between 28 and 34 years old, and asked them for photos of their personal living spaces.
Desks, bedrooms, office tables, that kind of thing.
Right. And they collected 31 valid photos from 14 different people.
Think about the traditional user survey method for a moment here.
Oh, it's so tedious.
Right. You have to recruit the participants, screen them, wait days for them to actually take the photos and send them in.
If they even remember to do it.
Exactly. And then the human researchers have to open every single image, manually draw bounding boxes around the plastic objects, categorize them, and log the counts.
And the researchers clocked this manual process. The time cost is just devastating.
It really is.
To review and categorize the plastic in just 31 photos, it took the human team 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 43 seconds.
Over 100 minutes.
Yeah, over 100 minutes. So if you want to study a whole city or do a global LCA for Unilever,
that time cost makes the research mathematically impossible. You just can't scale it.
and we have to examine the mechanism behind why it takes humans so long, because it's a matter of severe cognitive load.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Rapid psychological fatigue.
Yeah.
When you look at a highly complex, cluttered, real-world scene, your brain is doing an exhausting amount of filtering.
Yeah.
Imagine looking at a photo of a desk. There's a black plastic TV monitor, sure, but there's also a black plastic computer mouse and a black synthetic cable running right across a dark desk mat.
My visual cortex is just trying to find the edges of objects that are the exact same color, overlapping each other in weird lighting.
Exactly. Plus, you have the inclusion of completely unidentifiable cosmetic containers, diverse reusable bottles, stray pens.
It's just a mess.
It is. The human brain tires out remarkably fast when it's forced to isolate and name dozens of overlapping plastic objects in a messy environment. You lose focus, you start missing smaller items, and your categorization speed just plummets.
Okay, so if looking at photos of clutter melts the human brain, why not just skip the photos?
What do you mean?
Why not just hand out a questionnaire? Like, just ask the participants, hey, can you list the plastic items on your desk for us? It seems like that would save everyone 100 minutes of visual torture.
Well, it is a logical alternative, but behavioral science tells us that self-reporting for environmental audits is highly inaccurate.
Really? People just lie.
Not intentionally. Humans experience this phenomenon we can call clutter blindness. We literally stop seeing the mundane objects we interact with every single day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if someone asks you to list the plastic on your desk, your brain prioritizes the obvious items. A water bottle, a phone case, maybe a pen.
But I'm completely ignoring the plastic casing of the monitor I'm staring at.
Right.
Or the plastic router tucked behind my books. Or the synthetic fibers woven into my mouse pad.
We filter them out because they're just part of the background furniture of our lives. Questionnaires only capture what people think they own.
Which is consistently just a fraction of the truth.
Exactly. Observational audits, actually looking at the physical space, are an absolute necessity if you want accurate data on a plastic footprint.
So we're blind to our own plastic, and we get totally exhausted trying to count other people's plastic.
That's the trap.
Because human eyeballs and attention spans inevitably fail when scaling up this kind of messy inventory, the researchers decided to bypass the human bottleneck entirely.
They brought in the heavy computational artillery.
This is the pivot. The researchers deployed an advanced deep learning visual recognition model called YOLO V4.
Right. Which, just to be clear, for anyone outside of computer science, does not mean you only live once.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a Drake song.
No, definitely not. In the world of machine learning, YOLO stands for You Only Look Once.
You only look once.
Right. It's an architecture designed for high-speed, real-time object detection. The researchers ran this model on an NVIDIA Tesla T4 GPU.
Which is some serious hardware.
It is. It's an enterprise-grade graphics processing unit specifically built to accelerate machine learning workloads.
And the results they achieved with this hardware are just staggering. Like we established, the human team took over 100 minutes to process the 31 images.
Right.
The AI processed the exact same batch of 31 images in 4.96 seconds.
It is unbelievable.
It did in under 5 seconds what took humans an hour and 40 minutes.
It fundamentally changes the nature of data extraction.
Yeah.
But to really appreciate the leap here, we need to understand the underlying mechanics of how YOLO v4 achieves that speed compared to older AI models.
Okay, let's get into it.
So older computer vision models relied on a two-stage process. First, the algorithm would scan the image with a region proposal network to find areas where an object might be located.
Just guessing where things are.
Right. Then, it would take all those proposed regions and run a second pass through a classifier to figure out what the objects actually were.
Hold on, the researchers in the paper mentioned that YOLO avoids that by turning object detection into a single regression problem.
Yeah.
That sounds like advanced calculus. In plain English, does that just mean instead of asking, is there a blob here, and then taking a second pass to ask, what is the blob, the AI is just firing out one massive simultaneous guess of coordinates and labels all in one breath?
That is a perfect translation. Older AI scanned the image sequentially, almost like reading a book with a magnifying glass, hunting for shapes.
Oh, that sounds so slow.
It was. YOLO, true to its name, looks at the entire image just once. It overlays a grid onto the input image.
So instead of scanning inch by inch, YOLO tosses a giant grid over the whole photo, like looking through a screen door.
Exactly. And every single square in that screen door acts independently and simultaneously.
Wow.
For every cell in the grid, the algorithm simultaneously predicts bounding boxes. So, drawing the geometric squares around the potential objects, and it calculates the class probabilities, which is its confidence score of what the object actually is.
So all the cells in the screen door are shouting out at the exact same time, I see a plastic edge with 90% confidence. Or, I see a bottle cap with 85% confidence.
Right. It is massive parallel processing.
Right.
By processing the entire image globally in a single forward pass through the neural network, it entirely deletes those sequential cataloging steps that bog down both older AI and human researchers.
Man, this is the difference between a medieval monk painstakingly transcribing a manuscript letter by letter versus snapping a high-resolution digital photograph of the entire page in a fraction of a second.
That's a great way to look at it.
But this naturally brings up a heavy dose of skepticism, right?
Always.
If it's moving at that kind of blistering speed, under 5 seconds for 36 complex photos, what is the catch? Like, is the AI actually accurate, or is it just fast?
That is the crucial question. And the researchers dedicated the core of their analysis to evaluating that exact trade-off. We have to pivot away from a simple man versus machine competition here.
Okay.
And we need to look at the nuances of how human perception compares to machine vision, because there is a very distinct gap in the results.
Let's look at the numbers behind that nuanced gap. Because when the humans spent their agonizing 100 minutes scanning the photos, their detail was incredible.
Yes, it was.
They identified 69 distinct product categories and found a total of 311 individual plastic items.
Now look at the AI's output from its 5-second sprint.
Right.
The YOLO model only identified 15 categories, and it only picked up 115 items.
Wait, the AI only found 15 categories compared to the human's 69?
Yeah.
That is a massive drop-off. It missed almost 2/3 of the total items in the rooms.
It is a significant gap in volume, you're right. But you have to look at the precision of the algorithm when it actually does make a detection.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, when the AI drew a bounding box and labeled an object, its accuracy for naming that specific item in its crosshairs was very high. 88.2% accuracy.
Oh, wow. So when it guesses, it's usually right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Overall, when you calculate its successful predictions against the baseline of what the humans found, it operated at a 66.67% success rate.
Okay, so it has tunnel vision. It misses the obscure, small, or hidden stuff. But what it does catch, it identifies reliably.
Precisely.
So why is it struggling to see the rest of the picture? What causes a deep learning model to miss 2/3 of a messy desk?
The study breaks down a few structural challenges for the model. First, blurry or low-light images.
Ah,
The human visual system is incredibly adept at inferring what an object is, even if the photo is grainy or out of focus.
right. Yeah, we just use the context of the room.
Exactly. We use environmental context to fill in the visual gaps. The AI struggles significantly with low-resolution artifacts.
That makes sense.
Second, extreme variations in object size. A messy room might have a tiny plastic paperclip sitting right next to a massive plastic television monitor.
And calibrating that grid to detect a millimeter of plastic next to a meter of plastic throws off the bounding boxes.
Precisely. But the most fascinating challenge the researchers highlighted is actually an ontology problem. The AI struggles with a lack of consistent definitions for container types.
The taxonomy problem. Like, if you have a clear plastic cylinder sitting next to your keyboard, what is it?
Right. Is it a generic plastic bottle? Is it a reusable cup? Is it a plastic jar?
Yeah, how do you classify that?
This is where human context creates a conflict with machine learning labels. A human researcher won't look at a yogurt container holding pens and label it a desk organizer because of its functional context.
Because it's holding pens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The AI looks at the exact same object, recognizes the visual signature of the cylinder, and labels it plastic cup.
Ah, so the AI doesn't have the context of, oh, that's a specialized Nalgene water bottle. It just sees the geometric properties of a cylinder and fires off a label.
Yep.
And if the human called it a bottle, but the AI called it a cup, the system registers that as an error, even though they both successfully detected the exact same piece of the plastic footprint.
The machine just lacks the nuanced cultural definitions that humans apply to everyday objects.
So if we look at the reality of these stats, the AI is kind of like an incredibly fast, highly enthusiastic data intern.
I like that analogy.
Like, they can process thousands of files in milliseconds, but currently that intern only knows 15 vocabulary words and gets confused by bad lighting.
Right.
How does an imperfect tool with a 66% success rate actually help us achieve massive sustainability targets like the EU's Green Recovery Plan?
Because a primary goal of deploying YOLO V4 in this context isn't to achieve 100% flawless machine vision on day one. The goal is to take the crushing, repetitive burden of quantitative identification off human shoulders. You are trading a slight loss in micro detail for an exponential explosion in macro scale.
The heavy lifting of the audit.
Exactly. Let's scale the math here. If a team of humans takes 100 minutes to process 30 photos, doing a life cycle assessment audit of 30,000 photos across a major city would take years of agonizing labor.
It would never happen.
No. The AI can process those 30,000 photos in roughly an hour.
Wow.
Even at a 66% capture rate, you are suddenly generating an inventory of plastic leakage. Millions of data points
Yeah.
that was previously mathematically impossible to gather.
The AI handles the sheer volume of data extraction, providing a baseline map of where the plastic is actually sitting.
Right.
And what happens to the human researchers? What do they do with the years of time the AI just handed back to them?
And this is where the human-AI synergy actually solves the environmental problem.
Yeah.
By freeing industrial designers, environmental scientists, and LCA auditors from spending their entire careers staring at photos, counting plastic bottles, you elevate them to focus on qualitative research. They can take the massive AI-generated data sets and actually put them to work.
The transition from data entry to data action.
They can focus on the core pillars of sustainable design, the 4 R's: reduction, reuse, recycling, and regeneration.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
If the AI data reveals that millions of homes are hoarding specific types of unrecyclable cosmetic containers, human designers can target those exact product lines for redesign.
Right.
We can build better closed-loop systems because they finally have visibility into the consumer's living space.
So we aren't talking about algorithms replacing the environmental researcher at all.
No, not at all.
We're talking about giving the researcher a bionic eye. The tool absorbs the paralyzing friction of the audit, so the human mind can focus on the complex chemistry and logistics of actually stopping the pollution.
The neural network acts as a high-speed surveyor mapping the terrain, and the humans step in to engineer the solutions.
That just reframes the entire approach to sustainability for me. Because when we started this deep dive, we talked about how tracking global environmental impact usually brings to mind massive industrial-scale infrastructure.
Yeah, you picture massive smokestack scrubbers, or distant ocean cleanup ships dragging nets through the Pacific.
Or giant centralized recycling plants.
And those macro-level interventions are absolutely necessary.
Oh, they are critical. But what this Cheng Kung University research proves is that a massive piece of the solution is happening quietly, invisibly, right in the digital realm.
Exactly.
It is happening through neural networks processing the mundane, everyday clutter of our desks and our bedrooms in milliseconds. It's identifying the structural leakage of our consumption that we are honestly too blind to notice ourselves.
It confirms a foundational rule of system design, really.
Mhm.
To fix the macro problem of global pollution, you have to find mathematically efficient ways to measure the micro problem of personal consumption.
What?
Artificial intelligence is the only bridge capable of making that measurement possible at the required scale.
It fundamentally changes how you look at the clutter on your own desk. Which brings us to a final thought for you to carry with you today.
Yeah.
If a deep learning model can map the exact plastic footprint of your bedroom, drawing bounding boxes around your habits in under 5 seconds, what other invisible patterns about your daily life, your choices, and your consumption are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for the right algorithm to look once?
The data isn't just in the factories anymore. The data is all around us, in our most private spaces.
It really is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking closely at the systems shaping the world around you, because you never know what you might find hidden in the clutter. We'll catch you next time.